nice equation to work with. Okay. Find all solutions to the following equation by completing the square. That's going to be a little bit more difficult. So example number 10, I'm going to put a little asterisk there. Let's redo this again. So you have negative 3x squared minus 9x is equal to 5. I really don't like this negative, so I'm going to run a negative through. I like this to be nice and positive number, multiplied by negative, divided by negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, end up with 3x squared plus 9x is equal to negative 5. I don't know if you can see that yet. You can see that. And now I'm going to go complete the square on the left side. Before I do that, this 3 is still killing me, so I'm going to factor it out. We learned to complete the square last time. If there's a leading coefficient greater than 1, then we're going to have to factor it out. X squared plus, if I factor out 3 here, it becomes 9 over 3, which is 3x. If I distribute that out, it becomes 9x. Plus something is equal to negative 5. Since we added on the left side, we have to add on the right side. Plus 3 times something. Remember, it's 3 times that number, so we have to add 3 times that number, whatever this number was that we have to do. It's going to be a little bit messy. It's a fractions. Take this number, 3 divided by 2. Always take the linear coefficient, divide by 2, square it. 3 over 2 times 3 over 2 is 9 over 4. So it's 9 over 4. I'm going to, at this stage, well, I could have done it that way, I guess, but factor this term. 3 parentheses x plus, there's an x, square root of that is x. Bring down the plus. Half of 3 is 3 halves squared is equal to negative 5 times 3 plus 9 over 4. I'm going to do this on the right side a little bit. So 3 times 9 is 27 over 4 minus 5 times 4 is 20 over 4. So minus 5 becomes negative 20 over 4. Common denominator is going to be 7 over 4. So it's going to be equals 7 over 4. We have to get rid of this 3 first before we can take the square root. How do we get rid of that 3? Divide it by 3, or we multiply by 1/3. Since it's a fraction, instead of dividing by 3, I like to multiply by the reciprocal of the left side and the right side. That gets rid of that term right there. So you end up with x plus 3 over 2, quantity squared is equal to, multiply that out, you get 7 over 12. Now we take the square root of the left side and the right side. On the left side, I get x plus 3 over 2 is equal to plus or minus square root of 7 over square root of 12. I made this so that it looks similar. Square root of 7 over square root of 12 is the same thing as square root of 7 over 12. I did not break any rules of math. Okay? Square root of a over b is square root of a over the square root of b. So I subtract 3 halves to both sides. Sorry for the mess here a little bit. I think you can see that. Just a little bit. So x is equal to, we cancel that out. X equals negative 3 halves plus or minus square root of 7 over square root of 12. At this stage, you can try to work this out. It's going to be a little bit messy. Do I want to keep it like that? Yeah, I just want to keep it like that. Some teachers will say that's good enough. Next problem. Find all solutions to the following equation by the quadratic formula. I'm going to just start this process for you. This is the last way to solve for an equation using a degree of 2 right here. x squared minus 10x plus 16 equals 0. That's my a value, that's my b value, that's my c value. The quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You should have that formula memorized, or somewhat. So here we go. X is equal to negative b, which is negative 10. So it's going to be positive 10 plus or minus square root of b squared. Negative 10 squared is 100 minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times 1. Remember, our a value is the leading coefficient right over here. That's your 1. Okay? So our a value is 1. That equals 10. And we're going to work this out a little bit different. 100 minus 64. 4 times 16 is 64. That's equal to 36. And the square root of that is going to be plus or minus 6 all over 2. That becomes 10 plus 6 over 2, or 10 minus 6 over 2. Always write these out, guys, so that you're not doing this in your head. If you do this in your head, it's going to you're prone to making more mistakes. So something that I do with my students is I make them write them down all the time. Okay. 10 plus 6, 16, divided by 2, that's 8. Or 10 minus 6 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. So those are some good habits to have. The answer is going to be 8 or negative 2. 8 or 2. I could have also factored this. Let's see. Let's factor it out. X squared minus 10x plus 16 is equal to 0. Step 1 equals 0. Step 2, x and x. Step 3, this plus sign tells me they're both going to be same sign. This tells me they're both going to be negative. Factors of 16 is 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 2. No, 4 times 4. Whoops. Can't multiply. Minus 10x is going to be the 2 and the 8. Minus 2 minus 8. Zip it out. X equals 2 or x equals 8. Oh, there it is. Same answer as this. I rather use factoring if I can, but they maybe use the quadratic formula. Sad face. Either way, you should be able to solve it out. Notice that the quadratic formula is the last resort. If it's factorable, I would definitely factor it. I'm teaching you that the quadratic formula works as well as factoring. For this equation, I'm not going to solve it out for you, but I'm going to help you start it out. It has to be in the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So we got to move all of these terms over. That becomes 9x squared minus 6x. I'm going to subtract 6x. I'm going to add 1 equals 0. That's my a, that's my b, and that's my c. So x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is equal to negative b, which is plus 6 minus square root of b squared. Negative 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times 9 times 1. That's equal to 0 over 2 times 9. 36 minus 6 is 0. Square root of that is going to be 0. Square root of 0 is equal to 0. Right, guys? Move this over just a little bit. Square root of 0 is equal to 0. So it's going to, x is going to equal negative 6 plus or minus 0. We can get rid of that, all over 18. So negative 6 over 18 is going to be negative 1/3. Notice there's only one solution for this because we have a 0 inside the radical. I'm going to let you do example number 13 on your own, just a little bit. Or maybe I'll do it, I'm not quite sure. We have 4 more examples after this. 34 minutes has gone by. I think, yeah, let's just do it. You have negative 2x squared plus 7x. I'm going to move the 1 over. Minus 1 equals 0. We want to set it equal to 0 here, so this is quadratic. Run a negative through, becomes 2x squared minus 7x plus 1 is equal to 0. That's my A, that's my B, that's my C. So x equals negative b, 7 plus or minus square root of b squared, 49 minus 4 times a, which is 2 times c, all over 2 times 2. That's our a value. Equals 7 plus or minus square root of, I'm going to do this out, that's 4 times 2 times 1 is 8, 49 minus 8 is square root of 41, all over 4. Sometimes you can simplify that radical if you want, but I know that 41 is a prime number. It's not factorable. There are no factors except for 41 and itself. 41 and 1, sorry, itself and 1, so it's a prime number. Therefore, this is our final solution. Sometimes if you want to reduce that radical, you can. Sometimes it'll cancel out. The last part we're going to be doing is factor by grouping. This is, I don't know, you should have done factor by grouping a little bit last year from Algebra 2. It's a pretty easy concept. We're going to learn to factor by grouping. So here's the first example. X cubed minus x squared minus 16x plus 16 is equal to 0. We're going to group this, usually the first two terms and then the last two terms. So you see how we made this into two groups right here, the first group and the second group. There are four terms, x cubed, the first term, minus x squared, minus 16x plus 16. So with these four terms, I'm going to factor out a common factor for x cubed and x squared. That's going to be x squared, factor it out. You end up with an x. When I say factor out, I mean x squared and then put parentheses. That's called factoring out an x squared. Minus, drop the minus. I factored out x squared, so minus 1. I'm also going to factor out a minus 4 here. No, minus 16. I can factor out some more. Excuse me. Since I factored out minus 16 here, the only factor is going to be x. Notice that since I put a minus here, I have to put a minus here. If I distribute that, I'm going to get plus 16. So the last factor is x minus 1 equal to 0. Now I have two terms, x squared times x minus 1. There it is right there. The second term, notice that minus right there, 16 times x minus 1. So looking at the first term and the second term, there's a common factor. So I'm going to factor out x minus 1. X minus 1. I factored out x minus 1. I end up with x squared. Minus. I factored out x minus 1 again. I'm left with 16. Equal to 0. At this stage, you should know that this factor right there, x squared minus 16, that binomial is also the difference of two squares, so this should be factorable. X minus 1, x plus 4, x minus 4,